In August of 2024, a 64-year-old man wrote a letter he didn't have to write. He'd spent 4 decades in the chip business. He held a seat on the board of one of the most famous technology companies in American history, the one whose name sat on a little sticker inside hundreds of millions of laptops. Nobody was pushing him out. There was no scandal, no ultimatum, no term running out. He just didn't agree with how the place was being run. He'd said so out loud in the boardroom, and he'd lost the argument. He was the youngest of 5 children. He'd grown up in a house in Singapore, where his father closed the edition of a Chinese-language newspaper night after night, the family trade being deadlines and arguments about what mattered enough to print. He was 64 years old, and he'd already made his money. He didn't need the seat, and he didn't need the fight. So he quit. That's normally the end of a story like this. Somebody senior leaves quietly, the trade press runs 2 paragraphs, the company moves on. 7 months later, the same board called him back and asked him to run the place. His name is Lip-Bu Tan, and the company is Intel. He was born in November of 1959 in Muar, a small coastal town on the west coast of Malaysia, and grew up in Singapore. His mother worked at Nanyang University. He was quick enough at school to skip grades, and he finished a physics degree at Nanyang in 1978 at 18 years old, younger than most people are when they start. Then he went to MIT in 1980 for a master's in nuclear engineering, and then he walked away from all of it. He never built a career in nuclear power. He moved to California instead and took an MBA at the University of San Francisco, finishing in 1983. Think about what that cost him. He'd trained in a field with maybe a few dozen serious employers on the planet, at one of the best schools in the world, and he traded that for a business degree at a school nobody would call famous. He was starting over in his early 20s, in a country he hadn't grown up in. In 1987, he started a venture capital firm called Walden International, putting American money into technology companies across Asia at a time when almost nobody in Silicon Valley thought that was a real business. Reported figures for the fund vary depending on who's counting, so treat the specifics loosely. But the pattern isn't in dispute. Over the next few decades, he backed hundreds of chip and software companies in the United States, China, Taiwan, and Southeast Asia, and he learned the semiconductor industry from the inside. Who supplies whom, who's overrated, and where the money actually is. That was the education that mattered later, not the physics and not the reactors. In 2004, he joined the board of Cadence Design Systems. Cadence makes the software engineers use to design chips in the first place. It isn't a household name, but almost every modern processor passes through tools like these before a single one gets built. Small industry, enormous leverage. And in 2008, it nearly fell apart. That year, Cadence tried to buy its main rival, Mentor Graphics, for around $1.5 billion. Mentor turned it down, and Cadence withdrew the offer in August. Then the financial crisis reached its customers. Third quarter revenue came in at about $232 million, down from well over $300 million the quarter before. Close to a third of the business gone in 90 days, and the company swung to a loss. In the middle of October, Cadence filed a document with securities regulators listing 5 executive resignations, all effective within 2 days of each other. One of them was the chief executive, Michael Pfister. There was no successor lined up. So the board improvised. It created what it called an interim office of the chief executive, a small group that would run the company by committee while the search for a real CEO went on. And Lip-Bu Tan was named interim vice chairman and placed inside that group. In January of 2009, the search ended. The board's answer was him. He'd been part of the group looking for someone to fix the company, and the someone turned out to be him. He was 49, he'd never run an operating company, and he took over a business losing money in the worst quarter for technology spending in a generation. He ran Cadence for close to 13 years. Revenue roughly doubled. The return to shareholders over that stretch ran into the thousands of percent, and the exact figure depends on which start date you pick, so different sources land in different places, but the direction isn't ambiguous. Apple became a customer. A company that had nearly died in 2008 turned into one that almost every chip designer in the world now pays to use. By the time he handed over the CEO job at the end of 2021, at 62, the industry had long stopped asking whether Cadence would survive, which is why Intel put him on its board in August of 2022. Intel was in trouble. It had lost its manufacturing lead to TSMC in Taiwan, missed the shift to mobile chips a decade earlier, and missed the AI boom almost entirely. The plan under then CEO Pat Gelsinger was huge and slow. Spend tens of billions building new factories in the United States, catch up on manufacturing, and turn Intel into a company that makes chips for its competitors as well as for itself. Tan didn't think that plan was wrong. He thought the execution was. Too many layers of management, too many people on the payroll, and a factory business being sold without enough discipline about who its customers were. He said so, according to reporting by Reuters at the time, and in August of 2024, he left. That December, Gelsinger was out. And on March 12, 2025, Intel announced that its next chief executive would be the board member who had quit in frustration 7 months earlier. Gelsinger gets the credit for committing the money and starting the factories, none of which could have been conjured up in a year. What's also true is that the three things Tan resigned over were the three that changed fastest once he had the job. Less than 5 months in, on August 7, 2025, President Trump posted publicly that Intel's chief executive was highly conflicted and had to resign immediately, pointing to Tan's earlier investments in Chinese technology companies. On August 11th, Tan went to the White House and met with him. Afterward, Trump called Tan's success and rise an amazing story and said he looked forward to hearing his ideas for Intel. That's the documented sequence. A public demand, a meeting, and a reversal inside of 5 days. What came next was stranger than the fight. On August 22, 2025, the United States government took a stake of about 10% in Intel, buying shares at $20.47 apiece, close to $9 billion. Less than a month later, on September 18th, NVIDIA, the company that had beaten Intel so badly in AI chips, announced a $5 billion investment and a partnership to build products together. Intel's stock had its best single day in close to 4 decades. For a business that had spent 3 years being written off, that was the first session the market treated it as a survivor. None of that means the job is done. In the results Intel reported on July 23, 2026, quarterly revenue came in at just over $16 billion, up about 25% from a year earlier, with the data center and AI business growing close to 60%. Those were the numbers that made headlines. Here's the one that didn't. The foundry, the whole reason for the strategy, brought in under $6 billion and lost roughly $2 billion at the operating line. Better than the $3.2 billion it lost a year earlier, and still a business burning cash. Intel also posted a loss on a straight accounting basis that quarter, more than $2 a share, most of it an accounting charge that got bigger because Intel's own stock went up, not money going out the door. So this isn't a finished comeback. It's one in progress, and it's still being argued about. What's changed is that people are now willing to fund it. On August 10, 2026, Intel priced an expanded share sale of about $20 billion at $95 a share, an enormous amount of new stock that dilutes everybody who already owned the company. Investors took it anyway because the money buys the factory capacity the whole strategy depends on. And the next day, Tan bought in himself 105,000 shares at that same $95, about $10 million of his own money through a family trust. He's 66. He already had the money, the reputation, and a clean exit from Cadence. Most turnaround CEOs inherit a plan they didn't write and then defend it because it's theirs now. Tan spent his last 2 years before the job telling that board what he thought was wrong, lost, and walked out the door. Then they handed him the company, and the argument became the plan. Whether it works is genuinely unsettled. The factory business still loses billions a quarter, and the customers it needs haven't all signed. But the person running Intel is the one who told them, on the record, back when he had nothing to gain from being right.